Hello. I'm turning this down here. Let's pause this thing. There we go. Hi, friends. If you're not already muted, I'm going to mute you because it makes a big difference on my end. And I'm going to view the gallery so I can see all of you, at least those who are on and those who are not on. We'll just give people a chance to get on here. I will admit them as they come in, just like you guys had to wait for. So this will be replayed on YouTube. So if you do not want your face there, go ahead and turn off your video. There'll be a chance for you to tune in with comments in the chat. I'm actually going to go back and forth between the chat that's on YouTube there and the chat that's here. At least I think I am. Well, maybe I stopped it. I don't even know. Sometimes I'm still learning how this works. Let me make sure that we're sending it to YouTube. I believe so. And interestingly enough, only 3 of you here right now, but we had about 20 signed up, so we'll see what happens here. Today's session will be about an hour. And for psychedelic integration purposes, I'm going to kind of review what I talked about last week, or last month. If you were not on that particular call, that's okay. You don't have to have, it's not sequential by any means. However, I'm going to give some other information today about psychedelic integration, how to utilize some of these tools, because really my thought is, and my really true belief is that really the heavy lifting happens after we take the chemical. And whether it be an altered state through breath work or an altered state through some sort of psychedelic molecule, the lasting difference happens in how we apply it. And so I'm going to kind of go through that today. I will talk to you a little bit about integration and what that means, and then I'm going to review what I did last week. I had to open up the book here. We're going to do a breathwork session today, so that'll be kind of be part of what we talk about today, and then I'm going to open it up to you guys to kind of give me some of your feedback on maybe some of the sessions that you actually sat in on recently for yourself or maybe for others, and what you're noticing in the in-betweens, because well, frankly, noticing is just right next to being mindful to me. Just noticing, even if it's something that you don't like, it's still right next to that piece of mindfulness. So I'm going to start. I didn't look to see who's on the YouTube side of it. Let me make sure that we're going there, and then we'll get started. Oh, nope, it is streaming there. Cool. All right. Just wanted to make sure that that was actually happening. Wonderful. So let us begin here. I see Darlene and Elena on here. So I see both of you, which is wonderful that you guys are you're on. I'm going to review my last month's integration session, and then we'll go into sort of a breath work and kind of give you an agenda of what we're going to go over today. So I was teaching something to my partner over the week, and it really inspired me to bring it back. It was something I haven't done in a long time. So I'm going to teach it to you today. It was something that her and I were just kind of doing together to set an intention for our own psychedelic session together. And so I said, well, let's do this technique that I taught years ago, and I just haven't done it in a while. And it was really interesting. I'm going to read it to you because I didn't realize how important that intention setting was until I reread it later. And I was like, oh my God, I'm living in that manifested life. I did that. I shot it out to the world, or the universe really, and didn't really think much of it until her and I were talking about doing it again. And then I was like, oh, wow, a lot of this stuff I'm already living in. So I want to teach that to you. To maybe help you in manifesting things in your own life, but also moving through some of the resistance or the walls that we live in. Well, because we're humans and we build walls. That's what we do. We may as well have labels on that say, I build walls around myself to protect me and to protect my mind, and I'm not trusting. And that's just humans. I mean, in general, are that way. So the walls that we live in. So I remember my guru when I was living in India, he said to me, you know what yoga is? He said, it's a sledgehammer. So really, it's a sledgehammer? He said, yeah, yoga is a sledgehammer because it helps us break down the walls we spent our entire adult lives building. And I agree with him because many times what we want is on the other side of the wall. And we think that if we just look at it from way over here, and we think really hard and we try really hard that thing that's on the other side of the wall will come to us. But the real truth is we have to knock down the walls. We have to knock down the walls so that there's a hole that the things can flow easily through and arrive at you. So I'm going to get to that. So that's one of the activities we're going to do after breath work today. Okay. So after breath work, I'm going to lead you into an activity that I taught her. It is called letter to past self. And I'm going to kind of guide you guys into that and how we utilize that. Today, though, I'm going to go through some of the keys in unlocking healing within ourselves. You know, the medicine can only take us so far, but really it's the practices in which we are able to apply them that really do the heavy lifting. So integration begins with our intention. That's the first step. This is what I talked about in last month is what are the steps to integration? Because it's kind of a buzzword, right? If you've done any kind of psychedelics, you've been around psychonauts, you've heard the word integration and you're like, yeah. But what does it really mean? You know, and I will tell you that it's more important than the actual chemical that you take is how you apply it. Now, right now I'm in my clinic. You can kind of see behind me a little bit there. I'm in my clinic and we do ketamine assisted psychotherapy. And I do that paired with breath work, but I will tell you that after a psychedelic ketamine session, it's really hard to integrate. Let's just be honest. Most of what you feel, taste, touch, whatever that you're experiencing is what we call ineffable. You don't really have words for it. You don't really know how to explain it, nor could you possibly apply what the weirdness that you just experienced to how it makes sense in your life. However, with a guide, you'll be kind of reminded of some of those things that you had as intention, and some of the weirdness that comes out of your session may be applicable later. I will give you an example. I just had a gentleman who left the clinic here say that he felt that he was in the desert, but it wasn't hot. He said that he felt that he was in the Antarctic at one point, but it wasn't cold. And I asked him what that meant to him. And he said, well, maybe that my mind is not always telling me the actual truth. And I agreed with him that yes, sometimes our mind doesn't know everything. Surprise, surprise. Actually, a lot of times our mind will lie to us. There are some statistics by the Neurological Institute that talk about 85% of our thoughts and there's something like 20,000 or something that a day that we have, are 85% of those, which means only 15% are either true or present moment. The rest 85% have to do with what we're thinking about, worrying about, or that we're presently stressing about. Whereas right here in this small window of now, there's only 15% of those thoughts that are actually usable and usable to create what we want. Because most of the time we're already living in what most of us are living in, where we already were and who we think we were, that personality of somebodyness. And instead of being in the place of present, which is really nobodiness, if you really look at it, and that's the way Ram Dass explains it, is like, you got to be nobody to become somebody. Nobody meaning I don't have an ego, I don't have attachments, I don't have any of that stuff, because I'm really content with my isness rather than my wasness or my future might be-ness, whatever you want to call that. So that's what we're going to go through, about setting in some intentions, creating some self-love, and then how to apply that. Now, last month, we talked about setting the intention is step one for integration. And I went into detail with that. You can watch the video on YouTube if you want to go more into what that means. It's on my YouTube channel, like this one will be. The second was to, I don't know why, for some reason I have Darlene as the speaker here. I'll just leave it as, I guess, maybe I need to pin myself. There we go, I'll pin myself, perfect. There we go, I'm the speaker now. Okay, so the second one is to give space. Okay, so you gotta give space between your psychedelic session and integrating it in a way that's sort of usable. Right? They call it the clay that you have to get wet first before you can mold it. You have to put the slip on there to be able to form it, right? You have to have that space of sometimes a couple days. And for me, that's usually 2 to 3 days before I can really do much with it. So the second step is to create some space. The third step is to follow the breadcrumbs back to your session. So with sessions, if you ever sit with me, I don't know who you've sat with, but this applies to anyone who's done any kind of psychedelics and needs it integrated, is to follow the breadcrumbs back. Now, I will tell you, I've done sessions in lots of different countries with lots of different molecules, and they all give you different things. Some are associative, some are disassociative, some make you very incapacitated, and some make you very mobile. But I will tell you, the way that I find any kind of value in those sessions is to follow the breadcrumbs back. Breadcrumbs for me, if you sit with me, are breath work, because that is a particular thing we're going to do in session, and it will bring you back to that feeling, or almost sort of a memory of where you were to where you're going, right? The second breadcrumb could be just the music that was played. I tend to play a lot of hand pans during my session. I play them in my live sessions. And I play them in recorded sessions. I'll have recordings of them on here. We'll have one today that we'll listen to as we're breathing. I guess I could play it, I suppose, but I'm going to just be here present with you and kind of guide this. So music is another great way. For some, it's smells. So if you sit with me with certain sessions, not in the clinic, I usually will burn. What do I have here today? I have golden sandalwood here, and what else do I got? I have California white sage. That's what you'll have in the clinic. If I'm somewhere leading a ceremony, usually I use copal as part of my ceremonies when they're live. And the reason why I use copal, well, because I like it, because it's a resin. I like how it smells, and I like the tradition and how it's ethically harvested and how it's being presented, rather than the incense, which I don't know the efficacy of. Some incenses, especially depending on where it's from, who's making it, and what kind of labor is being done there. But copal, and I know where I get mine. So maybe that smell is the breadcrumb that brings you back to the session. For some, it may be a taste. For some, it might be a smell. It might be a sight. It might even just be the clothing that you were wearing is the breadcrumb to take you back to that session. Now, that being said, that breadcrumb could also be a trigger for the opposite of what is wanted. So if you think about the times when you're what we call triggered, it's usually because you smelled something, heard something, saw something on your phone, you had a similar conversation, you were in a similar scenario where what happened to you is then now being sort of replayed, maybe in a different fashion, but it feels the same. Even though you're not thinking the same, it feels the same. And so that's the trigger. And you may say, why are you agitated? Well, I just got triggered. Why did you get triggered? That felt like when I was really upset at my partner. That felt like that time when I felt like a loss of control. It felt like when I felt sad. It felt like that I was very empathetic towards myself at that moment. And so those are triggers which could be breadcrumbs, but breadcrumbs to the what is not wanted. I have a pen here. We'll just pretend. I usually have the drumstick when I talk about this, but we want to look at it. What is wanted is this tip here, right? That's what I want right there, where you bang on the drum. But what if we hold it really high? I'll see if I can do this off camera here. And I hold it really high, right? You guys get it, whatever. I hold it really high and I look up, but what I'm going to see is the bottom of the pen, not the top of it. And I'm going to see the opposite of what is wanted because I'm holding that at a really high standard, saying, well, I'll never get there. I want that, but I don't deserve it. I'm not good enough. I'm not. But what if you pull it down and say, no, I'm going to feel it rather than think about it. And I hold this, what is wanted, here. You can feel your heart beating. You can feel that present moment. And that thing that is wanted, you're thinking about this. This is what I want, not the opposite of what I want. A good example of this is when you say, I don't want to be broke no more, right? Well, that's not saying I want to feel abundance. That's saying the opposite of what is wanted, broke, poor, don't have what I want. Or you can say abundant. Abundance is everywhere. I feel good. So the thing is, same is true with health, with wealth, with success, with relationship building. All that stuff is all part of that. So that was step 3, is follow the breadcrumbs, whatever those are for you, and whoever guided you. Maybe even ask them before the session, what are my breadcrumbs here? What are the ways that I can come back to applying this later? And again, I would tell you, it's going to be the smells, the sights, the music, some of the words. I usually offer trip reports when I guide people that has the breath work that we did, the intention that we set, the dose that we took, and maybe some of the recommendations later. I also sometimes will write poems, quotes. And if you sit with me for a long session, we do some collaging where we putting together these intentions, and then the next day we actually incorporate it. So if you're doing it overnight with me, that's kind of how we do it. Really amazing stuff to bring you back into what the medicine brought to you and then take it further. Some would say that the psychedelic components are us communing with God. It's communicating beyond this realm of consciousness. There's a book called The Immortality Key, which is really amazing. And it talks about how ancient Greeks used ergot, which is a mushroom, which was used to create LSD. And it's first synthesized form by Albert Hofmann at Santos in Switzerland. They use this mushroom, and it's talked about in this book as kind of how people used to go to church, how they would commune with God is through this mixture that comes from barley, which we know barley and wheats and all that stuff. That's what makes beer. So it's basically a psychedelic beer. And believe it or not, read the book. It's not my book. I just read it. I really like it. So I like the idea of psychedelic beer. That sounds fantastic. But that's how we were finding it now. In some of our current settings, we're doing things like ketamine, which is my primary, focus here in the clinic with breath work. You can have altered states with breath work. You can have altered states through fasting. You can have altered states through heat or cold exposure. There's also, all of our friends like LSD, psilocybin, MDMA, DMT, and others that could also bring altered state. But the truth is, without applying them, who cares? You're just doing a task. So without applying them, some of the work gets done, some of the rewiring, neuroplasticity gets done. However, without applying it, it's really just sitting in a room taking a tool. If we're doing medicine, it's just sitting in a room taking medicine, creating community. If you're doing breath work, it's just breathing. But when you apply it with intention, which is the first step in integration, meaningful things happen. That leads us to step 4, and then I'll move on to today's lesson. Step 4 was to document what you learned through the breadcrumbs. And that's just journaling. Usually we find those through meditation, and that's going to be where I start and pick up today's session from, is how meditation can be a part of that. So those are the 4 steps to me in integration. It doesn't mean that there can't be more, especially if it's a long healing process for some. there could be some other steps. So let's move into today's session. I'm going to start today with, I guess we'll call it today's session. The title of it is Keys to Unlocking Healing. Okay, so keys to unlocking that healing. Whereas last session were what is integration? Today is more about unlocking healing. So I want to start today's session with kind of just dropping us into a small breath work. I'm going to put on some music here. Let me just open this up and put on a small breath work. Oh, maybe I am. There we go. If I can find it. There we go. Potentially. There we go. All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share the screen so that you can, I don't know, if you maybe just give me a thumbs up. Can you hear the music? Sound like a rain stick right now? Just give me a thumbs up if you can hear it well. Pretty quiet. I can crank it up a little bit. Turn it up just a little bit. Thumbs up if you can hear the music. I'm sharing the sound. So, seeing maybe Spotify here. Piano now. Can you give me a thumbs up in your video? There you go. See chat. Thank you, Elena. Appreciate it. We got it. Let us begin with breath work. If you're not hearing it, it's maybe just need to turn up your volume. I have it turned up pretty high, on my end at least. Maybe just closing your eyes here if you feel comfortable. If you don't feel comfortable closing your eyes, that's okay too. What I'm going to recommend, I'm going to bring the microphone a little closer to me here, is that you begin to draw into awareness step one here, which is setting an intention. Why am I even here? What is the reason for being here? Why would I even come to this? Why am I searching for this channel? Why am I searching for this information? Why have I attended this Zoom? And maybe it has something to do saying I'm wanting to learn more. I'm curious. I'm wanting to apply what I've experienced. I have a belief. I'd like to change. Maybe it has something to do with healing or comforting. Simply just curiosity. Whatever that is for you, affirming that with an I am. I'm curious, healing, I'm whole, I'm okay, I'm learning. I'm creating separation between tension and feeling. Tension in the mind and feeling it in the heart. Whatever it is that you're here for, that's your thing. I'm just going to refer to it as thing because everybody is going to be different. Everyone's intention is something different. As we begin to drop into this particular breath work, I'm going to do something called the expanding box technique that I created to use in psychedelic therapy. I really like it. I like how it's used. It's an activating breath that has a home base for you to come back to. This particular breath, I'm going to invite you to begin to breathe in and out through your nose. And just releasing through your nose. Beginning to invite the belly to expand with your next breath in. The heart to lift. And for you to drop in with an exhale. As you find your next breath, breathing, lifting, expanding, letting go, releasing, allowing. As you take your next breath, breathe in for a count of 4, 3, 2, 1. Now holding it at the top. What is your intention? I am. Now release it to the world with your exhale, releasing it to the universe around you. 3, 2, 1. And holding here in the quiet stillness. 3, 2, 1. Breathing in for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now hold. Holding at the top. What is your intention? What is it that you're bringing into today's session? Exhaling all the way down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and hold. 5 counts here. Moving to a 6 count inhale. Expand through the belly, the ribs, the heart. All the way up and hold it. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now exhale, 6 counts. 3, 2, 1. Now hold. 6 counts. Last one like this, breathing in for 6, 2, and 1. Now hold. 6 counts. 2, 1. Now release all the way down. Letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go. 6 counts. Completing that breath, take a full breath in all the way to the top. And releasing fully. We're going to begin to move into a more activating breath here. Breathing in for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now release. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathing in, belly expands, heart lifts. Release it, 6 counts all the way down. Breathing in now for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now release, 5 counts. Release through the mouth if you like. Breathing in for 5, 4, 3, 2. Now release, 5 counts all the way down. We're going to begin to amp this up, moving into 4 counts. Breathing in for 4, 3, 2, 1. Now exhale, 4 counts. Keeping it balanced. In, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in and release. Breathing in for 4 and out. 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe in. 4, 3, 2, 1. Now exhale all the way out. Next, do like this. Breathing in and exhale. 2, 3, 4. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Just breathing in, expanding, connecting in this balanced breath of 4 counts in, 4 counts out, all the way down. As you do this, you may feel ringing in your ears, tingling in the hands. You may even feel fatigue in your nose, but know that this is temporary. Releasing all the way down. You have a chance each time to let go of expectation as you breathe in. 2, 3, 4. Breathing in your intention. Letting go of expectation all the way down. Only 5 more. In, 2, 3, 4. Now exhale. 4. Breathe in. 3 more. Let go. 2 more. We're going to move to something called sniff, sniff, poo here in a second. It sounds just like you are. Do 1 more. Inhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Now exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. All of us take a giant breath in all the way to the top. Release it all the way down. Moving into something called sniff, sniff, poo. Double sniff, 2 inhales, and then a poo sound as you let it go. So it looks like this. Sniff, sniff, poo. Let's do 5 more. In, release. 70, 30%, and then let it go. In, release. In, release. Do 2 more. In, release. Last one like that. And release. Breathing in for a count of 4, 3, 2, 1. Now hold. 7 counts right here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now exhale for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. All the way down. Here we go. We're going to do another 4 count in. Breathing in for 4, 3, big and full, 2, 1. Now hold. 7 counts right here. Just noticing, feeling. Now let go for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Here we go. Breathing in all the way to the top. Fully in. And let go. 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe in. 4, 3, 2, 1. Now exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. In and release. In and release. Let's do 10 more. In and let it go. In Letting go, breathing into the belly, expanding and lifting, letting go. Breathing in for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. 2 more. In. Letting go. In. And letting go. All together, take a giant breath all the way to the very, very top here. Let it go fully. One more breath all the way to the top, fully in. We're going to release it to a neutral lung. So letting go and hold, no breathing. No breathing. Just notice the activation, you holding the breath. No squeezing, letting go of your ears away from your shoulders away from your ears. Even the thoughts just here, I'm holding my breath and I'm safe. I'm okay. The alchemy of adrenaline, the alchemy of maybe serotonin running through you, and yet you're safe. Okay, fight or flight mechanism is on, and yet there's nothing to worry about. I'm just here. This is me and my nobodiness, just being. As you're ready, take a full breath in all the way to the very, very top, fully in. As you get to the top, take another sip here, just another. Maybe you squeeze from your belly, your chest, your face, all the way up. And then letting go all the way down. Moving back into your normal breath. Maybe just hearing the sounds behind me or behind you. Sounds of the handpan. This particular song is known as The Secret Kissing of the Sun and the Moon. The secret kissing of the sun and the moon. Joy of reflection and yet that of illumination. We move into the keys to practicing unlocking healing. You're here, maybe with your eyes open or closed, practicing meditative state. The first practice is to practice visualization along with meditation. Alignment with that you want, because everything that you want already exists. Healing, success, relationships, abundance, opportunities, education, learning, it all exists in the field somewhere. We don't need to think harder to bring it to us. We need to find alignment to that which is wanted. See yourself in the manifested reality of that you're wanting. What is that thing that you were bringing into today's session? What is it that you wanted? What was your intention? Can you see yourself in the manifested reality of it? What does it look like to experience that thing? What does it feel like in an emotional level to feel happiness or to feel freedom? What does it feel like emotionally to experience wholeness? What does it feel like to experience abundance? As we affirm that intention, not with our thinking mind, but with our heart coherence, the DNA that created your body before the mind was even fully developed, here you are, holding a picture of what is wanted emotionally. This is the first step to unlocking healing. Practicing this visualization by feeling the emotion of it. Do you feel the emotion of this thing? That is going to be kind of your primary focus. I just turned down the music here. And as you want to come back into the room, you're welcome to open your eyes little by little, or you can keep them closed if you like. I have many meditations on my page about this particular thing about manifesting and how to meditate. I don't want to guide us into too deep of a meditation because some people have a hard time even sitting 5 minutes with that. So if you want to do more of those things, contact me directly, and I'm happy to offer those to you. So you're welcome to write in the chat anytime here. If you feel like you have feedback or you want to ask me any questions, you can do that. But I want to move on to the other steps here with the key to unlocking healing, and then I'll kind of open it up to the panel here. So the first step in unlocking healing is to practice visualization and meditation. What I would tell you is if you're having a hard time with meditation, saying, I just can't do it, I can't stay there a long time, it's not really about doing it properly. It's just about showing up. Okay. So showing up and finding what I call a sacred pause will really help with that. Just creating a sacred pause that says, okay, this is what is wanted. This is what I want to feel. And I'm going to go ahead and experience that feeling for just a minute. And then there it is. Step 2 is letting go of the negative emotions associated with that thing. So this is what our past alignment was. We were in alignment to not making enough money. We were in alignment to having poor relationships. We were in alignment to failing out of things or not succeeding. We were in alignment to lots of things. We'll call them successes, even though they're not what was wanted. They were the opposite of what was wanted. So you were in alignment to those things because more of those things kept showing up. And a lot of that has to do with how we speak to ourselves. So as a therapist and using NLP, I guide people a lot of times in different neuro-linguistic programming to say, well, this is about how you talk to yourself more than it is what you're asking for. Because I can say I want $1 million and then a second later say, well, that's not possible. Well, what's going to be heard is that's not possible. Okay. So we have to really feel it emotionally and let go of the negative emotions. We let go of the past experiences and recognize, allow, and release, forgive. Okay, that's a big one. Recognize, allow, release, forgive. Because a lot of times I had to do this for myself. I was working through some abundance issues of my own, coming from, as a youngster or whatever, going into the military, trying to figure things out, not making a whole lot of money, trying to get my first apartment, my first car, my first phone bill. There's all these things that I was working through, and I was having a hard time at first because it's not something they teach us in school, right? How to budget and how to invest and how to do all that stuff. They should, but we don't learn those things. And so I was having a hard time with that, but I had to forgive myself for those times. Not that I felt like I did something wrong. I just felt like I needed to let go of that attachment that I'm not good enough. And not only that, but mine with my separation with abundance was part of my upbringing is like, you have to work hard. So maybe some of you live in that era where the only way you make a lot of money is by working hard to get it, right? You have to work hard and long, and you have to try harder to make that. Whereas the school of thought that I teach is that we actually need to relax, allow, and receive. I don't think that we have to work harder. You have to be responsible, but you have to work, you have to really relax into it. The harder you work, the more you push things away. So, and then letting go is a process. I'm going to get into that a little bit about letting go of negative emotions, but letting go is a process. So when you let go of something, it's a lot of people will go, yeah, I let go of the negative thoughts I say about myself. Great. You just thought about what you're going to let go of. And so you're going to think about it more. And then what does that lead to? I'm thinking about the negative things I say about myself, and that's the opposite of what it's wanted. So it shows up again, and it shows up again, and it shows up again. So how to really let go is when you notice that tension in your mind. I'm not good enough. I'm not old enough. I'm not young enough. I'm not strong enough. I'm not enough, whatever that is, which is a recurring maybe statement for you. Letting it go again, saying, yes, this was true at one point, but I'm right here now. That isn't, thank you. Thank you for letting me know the opposite of what is wanted. And that's exactly what I usually just say. Thank you. Thank you. I'm grateful. Thank you. It's actually where we're going into in the next steps, is really just saying thank you for letting me know that at one point I believed that, and now I'm in a new chapter. I can let go of that chapter and move on to chapter, whatever chapter we're in, 20,000, right? We don't know what chapter we're in, but so that's step 2 is letting go of negative emotions and letting go of stories. I guess it's letting go of your somebodyness, right? It's letting go of, this is who I am. I don't know if you know anybody, maybe it's not you, right? It's not you, but where you introduce yourself by your healing or by your traumas even. Hi, I'm Ryan. I used to be an alcoholic, right? Like we're at AA or something, right? Or like, hi, this is me. I'm not good at meditating. We introduce ourselves by what we're not good at, right? What we don't want. Or we introduce ourselves by who we think we are. I mean, I could certainly go walking around going, hi, I'm Ryan, I'm the therapist. No, I can just be like, hi, I'm Ryan. I create things and do stuff, right? So we need to reassociate with how we address ourselves and really just kind of coming back into the present. So the third step, it has to do with self-love and self-care. Dr. Wayne Dyer talked a lot about this in the letting go process and how self-care was really what got him there. Now, self-care has sort of become a buzzword too. What does self-care really mean? Does that mean I get pedicures weekly, or what does that mean? Do I go sit in a bathtub? Well, maybe. But self-care to me is really about self-love. So I'm taking care of myself so I can love this vessel, so that I can appreciate the vessel in which I'm traveling on my journey in. My journey is going to have all kinds of twists and turns. And my job is to find santosha, as the yogis call it, or contentment. So this self-love really is a place of inner peace within the self. And I call it just really a place of respecting yourself, right? So many times we say, well, I love myself because I go to the gym. But is that really respecting yourself if you're doing it because you're stressing yourself out and then you're going there because you don't like how you look and you're like, oh, every time I look at myself, or I can't lift that weight, so I'm not good enough. It depends on how you're directing the self-feedback. If you're giving yourself comments saying you better go because you're fat and ugly, well, that's a problem. That's not self-care. That's actually bringing yourself down. If you say, I'm going to do these things like meditation, like breath work, like working out, like being in nature. If you say those things in a way that says, hey, this is how I work on myself and I love this, great. But if you don't love those activities, find something that you like first. Don't try to force something. And like as a kid, don't try to force Brussels sprouts. Wait till you're over 30 and then you'll love them. But don't try to force Brussels sprouts on your self-healing, because it's not going to work. You're going to resent it and not like it. Self-love attracts, and it attracts the love and respect that you are offering. So when you love yourself more and you respect yourself more, it is returned to you. It's amazing how this works out. You may not believe it because you've been in a place of disrespect. If you have, I empathize with you because I was there too, where I was disrespecting myself through my self-care habits. And then, of course, my partner then was disrespecting me. Of course, my employers didn't really, they kind of liked me, but I wasn't thriving, right? So now that I can say, well, I'm respecting and loving myself, I can thrive. Not only can be in a compassionate, caring, and two-way street with a partnership rather than me controlling it, but I also receive that respect back. And for me, it has a lot to do with what I'm manifesting in the world, is this community and these things with others. So whatever it is that you're manifesting for yourself, whatever that intention was, know that, be gentle on yourself, respect yourself and the process, and it'll be returned to you. The fourth step in the key to unlocking healing is setting clear intentions. So in my Breathe to Manifest Miracles course, I talk about the 4 steps to manifesting. And one of those is get clear on your what, and then get clear on your why. We talked about that a little bit in the early on in the meditation here. This visualization is, what is it that you want? Why do you want it? That's it. Everything else goes into our step 2, which is letting go of the how and the when. We got to let go of the how and the when. If you try to set these clear goals on what you want and you get clear on your why you want it, whether it be to feel good, to feel love, to have abundance, to buy stuff, to travel, whatever it has a why you want to do it. And let go of the how and the when, because I would tell you right now, your mind, as powerful as it is and how powerful you think it is, has no idea how to navigate you to the things of the universe and how you want to receive them. It just doesn't know. All of us are very stuck on This is my body and this is what it's capable of. This is my mind and this is how smart I think I am. When we get out of that pattern of saying, I'm limited, we become limitless. And limitless, having no limits, basically says anything is possible. Read Paramahansa Yogananda's autobiography of a yogi. You will learn about lots of things that are possible when we let go of thinking so hard about them. He talks about a lot of miracles. You can find those in lots of religious texts also. But I will tell you things like, I'm been van lifing now for over a year. I manifested my van by letting go of how and when. I knew I wanted it. I said it, shot that rocket of desire out into the world. And then I had to wait for it to come. So let go of the when and the how. Even the partnership that I'm in came to me very crazy in a way that I could not have drawn a map on how I would get into the relationship I'm in. So if you're struggling in those aspects, well, let go of how you think it's supposed to happen. You have to say, I'm setting a clear intention. This is it. Let the universe do what it knows how to do. Okay. The fifth step is embrace the present moment. Now we know this. And what this really means is mindfulness is present moment thoughts without judgment. Present moment thoughts without judgment equal mindfulness. And that's really about being in the present moment. It's not worrying about the future. I mean, you got to be, in a way, you have to be sort of responsible, especially when it relates to your finances and your time, and you have to set boundaries. But really, when you're having a conversation with someone, let that be a present moment conversation. When you're sitting with yourself in the morning and you're thinking about, pull up my phone. What do I got to do today? Well, how about do a breath work first and be just present with that breath work? Be present with that meditation if you like to meditate, and spend a few moments of momentum of the now rather than over here. Okay, so that's usually what I do. I like to do my breath work first thing in the morning in bed because it creates momentum. I'm going to talk a little bit about mindfulness on our next integration session, is a little bit about how to apply mindfulness into techniques that can be easily accessed by using your phone, actually. So this is not all evil, even though we talk about how evil this device is, right? It takes us away and it's always doing this. And I will tell you, there's a lot of really great tools that I use on the phone that allow me to be mindful. And I want to share those with you. I'm going to do those in our next session. We'll just call them, I don't know what I'm going to title this, but I used to teach it at the University of Central Florida. I used to teach a course on mindfulness, and I was taught basically how to use your phone to be mindful. So for today's session, really it's about following the breadcrumbs back from what we learned last week, practicing visualization, and incorporating some self-love. Now, a lot of these are buzzwords, and so I want to open it up to you now so that you can talk to me maybe about, you can type it in the chat and I'll be happy to regurgitate your question. You can talk it to me verbally if you'd like. But I'd like to kind of review this process with you, especially as it relates to, well, what does self-care look for me maybe? How do I apply it in my life? This is what some of the challenges that I'm working through. How do I let go of the negative emotions if they're always showing up around me? These are some of the questions that may be swirling around in you. So take a psychedelic session that you may have been in, or an altered state that you're either just recently did, one that kind of gave you some hard times. Maybe it wasn't a good session, and maybe one that you're contemplating doing or you have planned, and what you're kind of going into it with questions about. And I'm happy to answer those here either in the chat, or you can come off mute and ask me directly. Let's see, if you're not typing, then I'm not going to answer. Hi there.
Hi, it's Elena.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah, I was wondering where you would incorporate this technique in on the scale of ketamine breathwork sessions. Would you do it in the middle, towards the beginning, towards the end?
I see. Thank you. So her question was, how do I incorporate this particular key to unlocking healing? How do I incorporate this technique into specifically a ketamine session? And what I would tell you is, this is beyond the session itself. But you can start with, we always start with session in the clinic, we start with kind of an intention setting. So, and it is an awareness activity where you just feel yourself. We were doing that earlier, right? We were just breathing before I gave you any kind of guidance. I said, just breathe, right? Just see what's going on here. Guide them into a breath work, or if someone says, I don't know how to set a meditation, I don't know how to do an intention. Maybe you do a meditation before you take the substance. So the activity that I'm going to do with you, that I'm going to introduce to you here, I'm going to tell it to you, and you'll have to do it on your own because I can't. It'll take you probably 10 or 15 minutes after this call to do, or you can do it tomorrow or the next day, but I'm going to introduce it to you. It's something that my partner and I did before our ketamine session. So it's a really great question. It's like normally when we do ketamine, you're putting it in your mouth, the troches, and then we're doing breath work, and then you're off on your psychedelic session. Well, where do you have time to apply this? I agree. So if it's something that you're saying, hey, I'm not really getting much anywhere with these psychedelic sessions, let's do something before I'm on the substance. Let's really create this intention that is meaningful to me. So I use things called focus wheels. We do those ahead of time for practicing that visualization. And what I'm going to do today with you is, or at least give you the instructions, I'm going to read you mine, is the letter to past self. And I'm going to read you mine from a year ago. I guess it was 2 years ago. And I'm going to read you my most recent one so you can get an idea of how to write it. And I'm going to give you some notes on how to write it. But how you would apply this, practice visualization. Well, what is it that's wanted? Feel it, breathe it, be there with it. Let go of negative emotions. You reinforce that. The guide should reinforce that during the session. What am I letting go of? I'm letting go of, maybe a trauma, or maybe it's, something really heavy. Maybe I'm letting go of addiction. I don't need, my desires don't need to control me. So you reinforce that. The self-love and self-care aspect of that is routines, habits that come later, and embracing the present moment. Well, we can do that all the time, but you may not want to go through technical terms while somebody's tripping, right? They just really want it the simplified by saying, let's practice what is wanted. What does that feel like? What does that feel like? What does that feel like? You want an apple? What does it feel like to taste an apple? You can just do that and be like, okay, what does love feel like? What does happiness feel like? What does abundance feel like? And so you just start to tap into that. And then you go let go of the negative emotions, because more than likely after they said that, they say, well, I'm not good enough. You go, okay, well, let's let go of that. That's alignment to what's the opposite of what is wanted. Let's tune into what's wanted again. So it's a matter of constantly coming back. After a ketamine session, giving 3 days or so, utilizing the notes you get from your trip report, and then journaling about it. And what we're about to do here would be something that I would offer. It could be before. I would give them the instructions beforehand, and then offer them to do the activity after, because psilocybin, much different. You can probably operate a pen, maybe. I do some activities with collaging that is pretty similar to this, that can be done while on the substance. But with ketamine, you're probably not going to write very well, and you're not going to be able to see your words very well. So I would offer this as a pre-session and then a post-assignment. So offering a post-assignment. So thank you for that question. It's great. I wanted to give you some references here, and then I'll kind of take you into letters from the future. I'm going to read you mine, and so you get an idea. But this is me, notes from years ago that I wrote here. So write down this particular website. It's called futureme.org. Now, I utilize this website because it'll email you this letter back in the timeline that you're asking it to email it back to you. So again, we're launching Rockets of Desire, and we're sitting in that desire, but we're letting it go. We're not thinking about it. Why isn't it here yet? Why isn't it here? We let it go, and then we wait to receive. Well, setting this to futureme.org, they'll email you in 3 months, 6 months, a year, whatever that you're asking for. So let me give you the assignment, and then I'm going to read you mine. Okay. So the assignment is basically detail what your life looks like now. So if you're writing I started off with Dear Past Ryan. And an example of a first statement is, I'm excited to see where you are now. The future is bright and full of opportunities. It's very generic, but you can do something like that to get you started. Okay. Detail what your life looks like now. In the future, what is wanted? You know, you have abundance rolling in, you're in the relationship that you loved, you're using the tools that you were taught, you're feeling whole and healthy and happy. I love the way you're showing up to life these days. I love your enthusiasm and your excitement. Like, all of these things are very great things to detail of what your life looks like now. So if you're writing from the future, write those things. Be specific and be creative, because to say, I don't know what I want, well, then you're going to get a whole lot of I don't knows. And the rest of your life is going to be full of those I don't knows. Let's get specific and say, man, I have so much connection with new friends, and I'm spending my life. You're going to see when I read you my upcoming one, you'll see what I'm talking about. Basically, be specific. Tell a story is the third step in that. And talk about, and step 4 is talk about the emotions that you're feeling relating to this. Use the word things like elation, joy, happiness. You know, avoid talking about the negative. So instead of saying, well, I'm not sick all the time anymore, that's not a good statement. Put in there, I'm healthy and I'm feeling vibrant and I'm feeling refreshed and excited about life. Those are the words that you would want to use to encourage that back into your life, not the opposite of what is wanted. So that's really the theme today, is let's not talk about the opposite of what is wanted. Let it live somewhere else, right? So I wrote this. I'm going to read you the one I wrote recently, because I want to share this with you. You guys are the first people I've shared this with, other than my partner, and we did it together. But I did write one way back here. This is what it looks like, and then I typed it to futureme.org, and then it got sent back to me. So I'm going to read you the newest one, which I can go way forward here. Okay, so this was written on Sunday, March 26th, 2023. So I highly recommend that you add your date at the top of your Future Me letter, and then you send it. If you're not sending it, maybe you just keep it in a book like me. I have this book full of goodies, and that's what I do. But I'm going to read this to you and give you an idea of what you would want to write into a Future Me or Dear Past You letter. So Dear Ryan. Dear Past Ryan, I'm excited to see where you are now. The future is bright and full of opportunities. I'm excited to see all that you have created and all that manifested life you're still living in. You have so many skills and talents. They have led you to the creation of a very popular breathwork and meditation channel. Your podcast is known around the world as a top listening platform for all things mindful. Your small off-grid homestead is growing and thriving. You have constant visitors that come to learn, heal, and connect. This is the epicenter of your work, but what you offer the world is so much more expansive. Work isn't really a word you use anymore. As you make your own schedule and travel more than anyone I know, you and Katie are massive influencers in the realms of conscious relationships and teaching others how to manifest the life they desire. Your protocols in psychedelic therapy and breath work are your legacy, and you will be forever known as a speaker, creator, cultivator of compassion, and teacher. The world is forever grateful for your message that you offer through you just living an authentic life. Stay humble, my friend. Much love, Future Ryan. And that's the message. You can watch this on YouTube if you're forgetting it later what that message was. But it is essentially an invitation to live in the vibration of what is wanted rather than maybe where you've been, because otherwise you're going to get a whole lot more of that. And I would rather you live the life that you deliberately create and desire rather than the one that feels stagnant and old and without excitement, I guess is the best way to say that. So that is my assignment to anyone who's watching this or who's on the live here, is see where that takes you. I can tell you that the one that I wrote in the one previously to this one, so nothing on here has come to pass because I just wrote it a couple days ago, right? I wrote it on the 26th. But the one that I wrote previous to this had things about traveling in my van with my partner and being very excited and creating new techniques that others can experience to be of service as. And I'm living in that manifested life now. Listen, friends, I don't have a special DNA. I don't have a connection to alien sources. I don't have any of that. What I have is deliberate creation, and I use the tools that have been given to me. So through psychedelic session, and then integrating them to creating the life that is wanted, not the one that I'm currently living. I'm making way for this new life every single day. So in conclusion, if you're interested in experiencing ketamine breathwork, you can contact Satori Health and Wellness in St. George. We're in a lot of places. I'm down in Las Vegas. I'm in San Diego coming up in July. We'll be up in Salt Lake quite often. And I'm planning on traveling like through the Pacific Northwest this summer also, and planning a few sessions. You're welcome to join any of those, but you have to get a consultation through Satori Health and Wellness. I'll see if I can put that in the link in YouTube afterward. But and I also have other sessions that I guide through the Divine Assembly, which is our euthanogenic church here in Utah. If you come to Utah, I can guide those to you. We can participate in other plant ceremonies and journey spaces. Also, the psychedelic integrated medicine doesn't only apply to plants, it also applies to maybe breath work. So we just released the Breath Source app, and you can download that. If you message me, I'll send you a link. It gives you a free week of it. It's only like $10 a month. It's pretty awesome. Or you can go onto my Insight Timer, which I have a lot of free tracks there. Follow the breadcrumbs back to your session, and we will certainly find that the benefits will reap themselves for you. So thank you for spending an hour with me today. I really appreciate you guys showing up and learning a little bit. If you have questions outside of here, you can message me at ryan@theketamineclinic.com, and I'll be happy to offer those to you. It usually takes me a day or two to respond to comments and feedback, but you can do that, or on Instagram at Ryan Bean Yoga. As pages I use, a TikTok also, which is Ryan Bean Yoga, which I'm doing 1-minute breath works on there every single day. So if you want breath work, there's lots of resources to find it. You just got to go out there and get it. So take charge of your life, take charge of your emotions and feelings, and see you at the next one, friends. Thank you.